Welcome, everybody, to Plymouth Council Workshop Meeting, May 5th, 2025. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our first order of business tonight is a presentation of solar panel review by the Township's Environmental Advisory Board. And who's leading that?
That is going to be members of our EAB.
Right, but I was just so we get your names in the minutes, if we can just have your name as you speak, okay?
Yep. I'm Lena Shevde, and I am on Plymouth Township's Environmental Board since November of last year.
Great.
November of 2023, actually. It's a little longer than that. And we have Bill, who actually worked on the solar proposal earlier, and he kind of had the background work ready, and I just took it over from him. He was on EAB for several years, and last year was his break year. And we have Andy here, who is current chair of EAB. And we also have SEM, the Shared Energy Manager.
Sure. So,
Representatives.
yeah, so I'm Patrick Martin with Wilson Engineering Services. We're the Shared Energy Manager for the Pennsylvania DEP program of the same name. And so in the 2025 cohort year, Plymouth Township is a participant. And so we're providing technical assistance to you all on anything that you deem relevant in the energy space. The first item here being assisting on the review of the technical and kind of economic components of the solar panel presentation here.
Thanks for your service. Appreciate it.
Also have Hillary.
Yeah, I'm Hillary Schmidt. I'm from Shade Engineering. We're working with Wilson Engineering to meet the same end. So thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Take it away.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for your time, and let's get started. So the purpose of today's meeting is to communicate the need and the urgency to switch to solar energy. We are going to review some of the preliminary estimates on the financial or economical side, and like how we can use, which buildings we can use the rooftop solar installations. So we know these days, like the extreme weather events such as the storms and tornadoes and hurricanes, they have been increasing, and we have to use more air conditioning or heating. So that kind of leads a positive feedback. That means more air conditioning use kind of adds to the greenhouse gases, and that kind of sets that results into increasing temperatures, right? So we need a source of energy that is clean and that is local. So thinking from the environmental impacts, we have already have ready for 100 resolution that was kind of drafted in 2019, and was it passed in 2019?
Adopted, yep.
Adopted? Okay. So adopted in 2019 as well. So, and we also have commitment to the clean energy. This is in draft, and this was drafted in 2021. So just to keep our commitment for environment, we are proposing the rooftop solar energy. So the reason for this, or the budget consideration for this, is the cost of electricity is increasing, and so is the demand. So the reasons are various, like the export of the natural gas or increasing demand of electricity for AI, electrification of the society, and for all that, we have higher demand as well as the cost is also increasing each day. So we saw that there is 42% increase of cost in electricity rate that we locked for 2022, and the baseline from 2020. So there are financial implications, and if we want to lock our electricity rate at the current rate or maybe a little higher than that, but if we want to lock it for next 20 years, the answer is having rooftop solar energy. And that's exactly what we can do, like control the electricity cost, lock in that rate for next 20 to 30 years. That is the life of the solar panels, and then have a positive cash flow on our investment. And on top of that, we want to have the clean energy and not have air pollution. So we consider the community center building as well as the township building. So this building and the community center. And the solar array can produce approximately 450 kilowatt. And these are just scoping estimates. We will have to do elaborate analysis on this. But based on the rough estimates, we know the installation cost is about $1.16 million. If we assume the federal credit continues, then that will reduce the initial cost by $0.35 million. And then PECO's first-year production credit will further reduce it by $0.056 million. And the electricity usage, based on we evaluated this in 2019, so there might be updated version of this that we don't have yet. But if we compare that kind of that will be 23% of the 2.39 megawatt hour. That is our annual consumption of electricity. So the cost to township is about $0.76 million. So how can we?
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure. Yeah.
Would you rather we wait till the end and ask questions, or should we ask them as we go?
Yeah.
That federal credit, is that a one-time credit or annual, or how does that factor in?
That's one time.
One time. Okay.
And that 30% of the total cost. So whatever we that's currently it's active. We don't know what will happen by the time we actually come to the decision. It's one time. Yeah. So we use a pro forma that is available on DEP's website to evaluate certain scenarios, and then SEM helped us to evaluate or edit those. So we generated 8 different scenarios for financial analysis, 4 scenarios of each one, the current electricity rate, and which is $0.643 per kilowatt hour, and 7.5 cents per kilowatt hour. So these are the 2 electricity rates that we evaluated, and 4 scenarios for each one of these. They include if we pay upfront versus if we finance it with 6% of loan, 20-year term for 75, and we put 75,000 upfront, versus if we get 4% of loan, let's say the loan rates decreases, and we decide a 20-year term for 75,000 upfront. And the last scenario is same, 4% loan rate with 20-year term and if we put 500K upfront. We also consider the maintenance cost for all systems at about $19 kilowatt per year, and that's based on SCM's experience. So I'll let you look at this slide, and if we really get the cheaper loan, the number of years, like, our payback period is almost equivalent if we put 500K versus paid in full. So it's 1 or 2 years of difference between those two scenarios.
So, I'm sorry, so if you could just sort of break this down, are we saying if we paid in full, it would take 16.4 years to break even and then start seeing a return on the investment?
Yeah.
In terms of net cash flow, yeah.
And then if we have the higher rate and we decided we don't want to put like upfront much, so like about 75K down, for that scenario, we have like about 31 years for the 6 cent kilowatt hour.
And then I know you'd be sort of speculating, but so what happens after, let's just using the scenario where we pay in full, 16.4 years, we break even. After that, we're generating, I mean, what happens? I mean, we're making money, we're breaking even forever after that. What happens after that, after we've sort of paid off the investment?
It's a positive, right? Like net positive.
Yeah, it's when the project as a whole goes positive. In that scenario, essentially year one, you're outlaying about $800,000 net for the whole thing, the whole 450 kW. And so every year following year one, you have a cash flow from the project. And so all that's saying is once you get to year 16, the sum of all of those cash flows year over year equal that initial investment. The annual cash flow then doesn't necessarily really change, specifically in year 16 in any discernible way. That's just the marker of when you've recouped that initial $800,000 outlay. If that makes sense.
And what is the life cycle of solar panels installed on a roof?
So generally speaking, you can expect somewhere 25 to 30 year life out of the panels themselves. The inverters that take the DC power from the panels and convert it to AC power for use in the building or to push back to the grid, those have a lifespan of about half of that. So usually those have one replacement throughout the lifetime of an array. And that's accounted for in, as Lena mentioned, the $19 per kW per year maintenance cost that we have carried in the cash flow. That has an annualized inverter replacement assumed in that number.
So that piece does, but like full replacement of the panels after 30 years, that's another full investment.
Yes, that would be another project that you'd want to look at the life cycle on, basically. And so what's interesting in the range of paybacks here, it basically shows if you pay it up front, you recoup that investment in 16 years. Maybe you view that as attractive, maybe you don't, but that's that scenario. Certainly you can see as you incur certain costs of financing in certain loan scenarios, that actual payback period can definitely approach the life of the system. So you want to be careful about how you're actually structuring your ultimate financing. And I think that might be the point you're getting at, but definitely.
I think you're saying what I was just seeing. So the green bar, for example, by the time we got to that point, we would now have to replace the panels.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that scenario is an example where your cost of financing has basically made your overall project almost entirely neutral, if you will. Over the 30-year life of the equipment, it's just paid itself back, it's neutral. Which you could view favorably or not as well, but certainly, you know, there's even, you know, 6% loan term over 20 years, or 6% interest on a loan over 20 years. You could find an interest rate above that, probably, and, you know, you could be over 30 years. So it's definitely a piece that you want to understand if you are going the financing route. It didn't sound like that's usually how you approach larger investments like this, but we wanted to kind of put it in there still.
How did we arrive at the starting electricity rates? I might have missed that.
Those are, I believe, your current WGL contract rates.
Okay.
And so there's all, like Lena mentioned, this is, I would say, scoping level. So this afternoon, we walked some of the electric infrastructure and the rooftops, and I think we'll put a little finer point on some of the numbers and put together technical and economic feasibility. That'll, you know, tighten up some of the numbers a little bit. I think these are good draft numbers, but the 6.5 cents is, I think, your supply rate right now. There is about 1 cent per kilowatt hour of delivery charges on the bill that may or may not be offset depending on how it's approached. So it might be that your offset rate is actually closer to that 7.5% now, but I believe that 7.5 cent was carried as a projection of, you know, the next time you sign a contract, it's likely that'll go up a little bit.
What percentage of the township's overall energy need or use would solar cover? I mean, even roughly, because I realize it's science.
Well, for these two buildings, if you sum up the consumption over a year and then what these arrays would do at these levels, it's about 25%, right? About a quarter of the consumption of these two buildings is what it would offset.
So we'd still be paying PICO for 75%.
Correct, yeah. So to Lena's point, you would basically, you know, stabilize and cost control 25% of your electric use and associated costs. The other 75% would still be how you're currently managing it.
Sorry if you said that and I missed it.
That's okay.
And one of the things we don't know is that this is a brand-new roof on this building. And the community center roof has been recently redone, not completely taken off and done. And one thing that's an unknown is how that might impact any kind of warranties we have on these roofs if we start adding and constructing on top of what's already there. I don't know what kind of, I would want to know if our warranties were voided if we start putting holes in a new roof.
Sure. So that's a great point. The way on flat roofs like this, it's usually mitigated because the way the solar arrays end up being constructed, they're what's called ballasted. So the racking is set down, and then basically there's weights on it that hold it in place, but there's not a significant number of actual penetrations through the roof membrane. And so usually when that's bid as a project to a solar developer, depends on the original contractor that you had for the roofs, how amenable they may be to kind of working with the solar developer in maintaining that warranty, but that's usually a stipulation that you can put in there on a recently done roof, that they have to coordinate the warranty and carry the cost to coordinate the warranty.
On the case study slide, it looks like West Rock Hill has 100% of their operations electricity. Lower Allen has 90%. What are they doing that we wouldn't be doing? Like, well, if 25%, they have 90 or 100. So what would be the difference in the proposed project here and theirs?
Honestly, I can only speculate.
I know West Rock Hill. West Rock Hill is a township of only 4,000 people, and the array is on a ground mount next to the municipal building. They have plenty of land, so they built the array on the land rather than on the roof. And they were able to make the array large enough to cover all the electricity in the township, including the street lights, the electric charging, the municipal operations, the water pumps, because all of their township operations were within a 2-mile radius. And that uses something called virtual net metering. The other one that you mentioned, I think, was also that they were able to use ground to build their array large enough to cover their usage. So there would be an opportunity here in Plymouth to see if there are township properties that we could put ground mount solar on.
I think all of our
Thank you, Bill.
property is parkland. I mean, you know, it's for open space, landscaping, grass, trees, ball fields, that kind of thing. Some of it is actually designated open space, can't be built upon. But the rest is just township parks. The only, and again, our GPCC is either a parking lot or ball fields and playground. This township campus, it would seem that, you know, there might be an opportunity now that we've, and again, I'm not talking about spending money now, but in the future, now that we've renovated the building, to renovate the township campus. And part of that, one thing that concerns us greatly, is that right now, all of our police and public works vehicles are unprotected. They're just parked out in the open, in a parking lot, subject to snow, ice, sun, the intense sun. And one of the things, like I've seen at the stadium and in other places, is when they make some covered parking, they put solar panels on top of it, so you get sort of like what West Rock Hill and Lower Allen have, which is, you know, they just put it out flat on the land, but this would be flat, just elevated the height of vehicles. And that might be, without having to disturb our new roofs, might be a way to get greater percentage of electricity generation, and, you know, in connection with another project, which is protecting our police and public works vehicles.
Yeah, you
I
could,
don't know. I mean, that's way down the road. I won't even be on council then, but
you could talk to Horsham Township. They're currently putting a canopy on part of their property. So Horsham Township would be a good place to talk to, see how
okay,
they're.
that's the one who's currently installing. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Is there even a rough estimate, like the cost of, at the end of the presentation, it's noted, like, we really need a feasibility study to look at structure, economic feasibility. Yeah, roughly speaking, what's the cost of even a feasibility study to do that work?
So under the Shared Energy Manager program, I think that's what we intend to provide to you, is a feasibility analysis.
Okay, so,
With the
okay.
exception of the structural opinion. That would be outside of that scope.
The cost of Springfield Township's structural evaluation was, I think, under $2,000, so we could see who they got their quote from.
What's the likelihood of finding grants for projects like this? I mean, not the feasibility study, the actual work.
So, you know, there's a few well-established programs, mainly outlined, you know, in what Lena's got on the table. So the federal investment tax credit is anywhere from 30% to 50% of eligible project costs, which is most of the project hard costs. And that depends on whether the solar equipment has domestic content. That's 10% of the, that might be on top of the 30, and then whether it's in an eligible energy community is another 10%. But what we would recommend carrying is the 30% is what you would intend on, you know, being eligible for. And that's non-competitive, so if you have an eligible project, you can apply for it, you get it. It's important to, of course, be aware that it's not impossible for that to change over time. It is a federal program that would take an act of Congress to change, but could. It is active right now, so I guess you would take that for what it is. But that's a well-established program. The key thing that has changed with that in recent times is under the IRA in 2022, Now that investment tax credit can be taken as a direct pay by tax exempt entities, including municipalities. So whereas before the workaround for that was a power purchase agreement, a third-party developer would install the array, take the tax benefits, and sell power to a tax exempt entity at a reduced rate. Now, tax exempt entities can take that incentive as a direct payment themselves and take direct advantage of it, basically. That's one thing to be aware of that's changed in recent times.
What's the availability of domestic produced solar hardware? Do we have a lot of companies in the United States producing solar equipment, panels and inverters?
There are companies that are producing them in the U.S.
Where do most of them come from?
I would say the overwhelming majority are China,
And are they subject to tariffs?
most
New
likely.
tariffs?
Most likely. Yeah, that would definitely be a thing to be aware of. Keep your finger to the pulse of if you're looking at a project like this in the near term, that would be a thing to, be discussing with developers as to what, the way that the solar industry works typically is the developers who would bid on a project like this, they have their typical equipment that they use. They have their lines of products that they're certified in, the ones that they use for their bidding, the ones they get volume discounts on. And it's entirely also likely that they are currently trying to evaluate if their supply chains are appropriate for their upcoming bidding. So it's maybe not the most helpful statement, but it's evolving, I would say, right now.
Yeah. Thank you. Anybody else have questions? Oh, we have our experts.
Oh, the only other thing I was going to mention, just in the incentive discussion, is the PICO Act 129 incentive for solar is well established, and that's a state program, regulated by the PUC that is likely to persist for, I think the current iteration is through 2029.
That's what's in the table, that's the PICO first-year production credit.
Correct. And so that's, I believe, 10 cents for every kilowatt hour produced in the first year is the way they structure that incentive. So again, non-competitive, if it exists, you get it. And I think Rick had mentioned that you all have gotten some Act 129 incentives on other projects you've done before. It would be a very similar approach.
Thank you. This has been very informative. I really appreciate it. A lot to think about, especially when it comes to funding. Anyone else have questions? Anyone else from the EAB want to make comments?
Do you want to show the last slide, just to show what other future work we might be doing?
So we kind of covered most of the
Most of it,
points
but-
here. Yeah, so just to reiterate, we would like the shared energy manager to conduct the, identify the other spaces, such as like parking lots or unused spaces for ground or roof stall installation. Then we can have them do the actual feasibility study, and as they said, like they won't do the structural, but we will have to do that from other than them, third party. Explore financial investment, or explore the grants that we can apply for.
Is there anything else that has to happen before that feasibility study is in motion, or is it in motion? What's the status and what we need from us?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything else that needs to happen. I think we're in motion. Our site visit today, I think, is a good step towards that, and I think with that, plus the information that we've got so far, we can, get towards a first draft. There might be a little bit of information that we'll have to ask for from Rick to just kind of solidify our understanding of the electric distribution, but other than that, I think we can move forward towards a draft of it.
I just wanted to say thank you to Bill Saby for pointing us in the direction to get this grant that enabled us to get the SEM.
Yes, thank
And
you,
This is
Bill.
at no cost to the township.
Yes, this has been great. Thank you.
Appreciate our SEM's work so far and looking forward to working with you in the future.
Glad to hear it.
Thanks very much. It's been very informative. A lot of work went into it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Did you guys include anything competitive?
No. When we talked about it, when did they have any specific? When did they have?
Yeah, that's what I was asking about. So like some of the financing options you have out there could potentially be better.
Okay. Next, we have a discussion item. I'm sorry, what?
You're joining us now.
It's like round robin.
Participation.
Step out.
Sorry. Oh, you're in the back row there, John. Couple more seats if anyone else wants to move from the back of the church up front.
You look pretty comfortable.
Now we're in the front now.
Okay, welcome Harmonville. We're here to review the Fire Station 2 rebuild bids.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us. First, I'd like to thank Matt and Rick for jumping in since the beginning of the year and really helping us out with this project and getting us to the point where we have some actually firm numbers right now. So Danny's just going to review some of the numbers that we have. Obviously, we're here because we're a little bit over what the anticipated was. So Danny will review those numbers of what the estimate from KCBA was to what the actual numbers really came out to be.
Yeah, so as of April 21st, we did get our,
Plug in?
oh, no, I have nothing, yeah, okay.
I don't mean to
Jump
put you on the
screens.
spot.
As of April 21st, we finally got our bids back, so we did go out to bid. This were the bids that came back from KCBA. We're anticipating to be around 5.6 million, 5.7 million. As you can see, our total bids came back around 6.2. I like to round up a little bit here. So between our three different sources of money, we'll say, we have the RACP grant, which was worth 1.975 million. We had a DCED grant, 200,000. And we originally have your money, 3.5 million, that was allocated to this. So right now, we're coming back to you guys because we're close. We got the bids. We want to, continue with this project. However, we are still a little over. By little, I mean close to $500,000. So we proposed to Matt and bring it to you guys today to see if we can originally take our 3.5 million that we've requested and bump that to 4 million, knowing that our allotment to you guys over the 30-year will also increase. So we've talked to our financial advisors on HFC side to see what we can do, what we can cut, what we have to do in order to make this a feasible project. And I think the max that we are willing to do is $133,000 a year that we think we can stay in business per se by cutting that much a year. So we're right at the edge of all this. It's going to be very tight probably for the foreseeable future, but we see this being a very important project, right? This is a big milestone for Harmonville, and it's here to protect our community. So we want to proceed with this, and hopefully this is our last time asking for money. We've done that 2 or 3 times now, but we finally have the numbers in, right? This is kind of where we wanted to be. We have some firm numbers to actually work off of it and go forward with. So time is of the essence, and I guess the overall, thing here is that we got 3.5 from you guys. We're asking for 4 if that's feasible, if you guys can help us out with that, and we can proceed with this project.
How much time do you have to lock in this bid?
April 21st, I believe we had 60 days
60 days from then.
from April 21st.
17th.
From the 17th?
From the 17th.
June 17th deadline, okay.
And these are pretty hard numbers. We had a very nice competitive bidding process with a lot of returns, actually more than KCBA had thought for generals and all the other prime contractors and stuff. So these numbers are pretty accurate, and they were pretty straight across the board of everybody was in the ballpark of each other. There wasn't any outlier that was like really low or really high. Everybody was kind of right there in between. We did review some of the alternatives that we had discussed, and we really feel that at this point we need to go forward with this project with all of our stuff that we've decided, because if we don't, we're never going to do it. And we've talked about that before, is what's best for the protection of our township and our residents is to have a full functioning fire station that's ready on day one with nothing else that it needs.
This will include the second floor?
Yes.
And all?
Unfortunately, with some of the bidding, and we'll explain it to you, is we had thought that if we put that alternative in there, that we would see a good size savings from that. But we all kind of feel after discussion that the contractors kind of knew that we were going to always go with the second floor, so there wasn't actually much savings at all to eliminate the second floor. So with all the pricing, it really doesn't make any sense not to go with the second floor, because there's not that much of a savings really in that alternative. So
Well, it's pretty essential from your presentations, it seems like.
Seems like it was one of the driving forces for the project.
it was definitely, yes, and it was one of our things that we said, hey, if it really came down to it, could we live without it for the next 5 or 10 years and then revisit it? I'd hate to say yeah, but no. And then when this all came back in, we were like, it makes no sense not to, because it's not a lot of savings. I think it was only about 120 over, and it was nothing compared to what we thought it was going to be. We were thinking $1 million was going to be the difference, and it wasn't even there. So,
Well, it shows on there, 940,000 was their estimate for the second floor.
Yeah, and adding a second floor 5 years later to
It's going to cost.
existing walls and a roof,
Yeah.
I mean, it just
Yeah.
structurally, financially, seems like a no-brainer to do it.
and unfortunately, just with the times we are with the economy and everything right now, I mean, this is why we've had to kind of play back and forth. I don't think anybody would have thought 3 years ago when we really started this project that we would be even where we are now with numbers, because everything has changed in the last year or two. So, I mean, you guys have been along the ride with us the whole time, so you got to know where we've been, and we've been taking the experts' advice on this is what you should be asking for, this is what we think, and the experts were $500,000 off. So, I mean, that tells you anything.
So I mentioned this to Matt, but I'll just sort of say it out loud. So you're comfortable, KCBA is comfortable, like in terms of a contingency, knowing that oftentimes projects run over.
They have a 5% contingency in there, and they believe that because this is new construction, that they will be pretty good with 5%. That was verbalized to all the players and stakeholders. So and we kicked it back to them and said, are you sure? And they said, with new construction, they feel comfortable. If this was a modification, then we'd be talking probably upping that contingency a little bit.
And in terms of your annual operating contribution, you also feel comfortable that works?
I mean, I'm not going to tell you, it's tight. It's very tight, and there will be probably some hard discussions on what we are going to continue to fund for what we put out of our allocation compared to what we get, and there'll maybe some discussions down the line, but, we feel that this is the priority project, that we need to give the volunteers, our career staff, a decent place to work and live out of, and, it's due time. I mean, this building's old, as many of you guys, you've been there, you've seen it, so to have a fully functional fire station, we need to do something.
And, I mean, I think everyone here agrees that Harmonville has been invaluable for the safety of this community, and the time that the volunteers and the career staff put in is so appreciated. And we know you risk your lives to do it, so on that, I just can't thank you guys enough for what you do for the township, really.
Thank you.
And our surrounding townships, you're always there. Conshohocken.
More nowadays than not, so,
I know.
but everybody relies on everybody, so that's kind of like the motto anymore.
Okay, does anyone have questions? And this is something we would have to do at a regular public meeting, not a workshop?
Yes, that's what Alex and I were just discussing. We should probably put a formal motion on the table for consideration to increase the approved amount up to $4 million, which would also help us then for the RACP grant documentation. if we get that on record, that we are bumping it from $3.5 to $4 million. And I also wanted to clarify to council and those in attendance that our finance director, Kellen, performed a financial analysis of this request, and that was provided to council as well, and that the township would be able to fund that with the asterisk, a very bold, large asterisk, that we really need to reform our ways and stop being more reactionary, and let's try to get to a more planning-centric methodology of funding capital projects. And just a shameless plug for the upcoming capital improvement plan that we're developing.
Thank you. And thank you, Kellen. I mean, I read everything that you did, and I've taken it to heart, believe me. I really have. Does anyone else have questions for?
In addition to doing the motion to increase the value, we could go ahead with the notice of intent to award. Start the process.
Because they do have a
Yeah.
deadline in June, so we don't want to lose that.
Next week?
Yep.
Intent to award?
So there will be
Is there
three
anything
things.
then for that one, the Blue Goose?
Do we have an answer on
Does
this?
the solicitor need to do anything formally with that?
I am blanking off that answer off the top of my head, but we will get an answer, and in order to move forward either with Monday's meeting or worst case scenario, the meeting in June, which you're still within your 60-day time frame based on our calendar for June.
As long as we get everything published by Friday, right, we're okay?
Yes.
Yeah, we can always put it on the agenda and then table it.
Right. Okay.
So is council in favor?
Yeah, of moving forward and having it on our regular meeting agenda.
Those two motions to the agenda.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, you guys have been a great partner. Everybody who's chipped in one way or another, we appreciate it because it's well needed, so appreciate it.
Thanks, John.
Thanks. Thanks. And you guys.
We could just announce the offices are going to be closed.
I didn't even see it, so whenever.
Right now?
Yeah.
Since it'll be after our next meeting.
All right. Sorry, that's right.
That's all right.
Sorry, they tried to come earlier today.
Okay. So everyone's moved up, thank you, so that you can be picked up by the microphone. And so I want to make an announcement that the township administration offices are going to be closed this coming Monday, May 12th, from 2 p.m. to 4:15 p.m., and that is to allow some essential training. Am I correct that that's? Yes. Okay, so I don't know who's listening out there in the internet sphere, but if you come into code enforcement at 3, you won't be busy otherwise.
I'm sure you'll post something on the door as well.
You can start posting on the door now so that, the people who come here more frequently will be aware. All right, thanks for picking that up, Matt. I didn't realize that it's the hours before our regular meeting. But we will be open for our regular meeting. Okay, then we have action items, and I guess we should just go around and see if anybody has anything from their departments.
If we could work through each one of these and assign who would like to
Yeah.
present, that would be helpful
Okay.
for our meeting packet preparation.
Okay, so we have, let me get to it, resolution for Officer Subio, somewhere in here.
So we'll have the
resolutions on it.
they'll be in there for next week.
Oh, it's in a different place on the drive. Okay, so there is a resolution acknowledging Officer Paul Subio as Officer of the Year. Who would like to take that one? Okay. Okay, Lynn will do that resolution. Then we will do the approving the minutes of our meetings and our reports and bills. Okay, we are going to try something in the summer, to let people get home with more daytime after our meetings. And so we will be approving the start time for our regular meetings in the months of June, July, and August will be at 6 p.m. rather than our usual 7 p.m. And if people really love that, it could go even longer. But at least for the summer, our regular meetings, not the one coming up, but beginning in June, will be starting at 6 p.m., just like the workshop. So who would like to make the motion to change our start time?
I can do that.
Nick, the Sun Lover, okay. We have both National Police Week and National Public Works Week coming up. Who would like to announce the resolution for National Police Week?
I can do both of them.
Aaron, okay. Great. And then we will be having, and then Chief or Chris, would you want to say anything at the time of putting forth those resolutions when we ask for comments?
Yeah, I could do that.
Okay, so we'll let you have some comment time. Now, Chief, I know you can come up with something, right?
Yeah, no, I'd like to.
I know you have other things to
I'd like to say something about Officer Subio.
Okay.
And I was going to suggest, I'm going to actually say some words for Police Week. I was going to incorporate, the month of March, they also celebrate fire companies and medics. And I thought this might be a good time as a group to say thank you. So I didn't know if council wanted to acknowledge them as well, but I was going to say something in my talk thanking them for everything that they do also. I know they've mentioned in the past they felt a little hurt that they haven't been acknowledged.
Okay, should we have a resolution for that? Is it called,
They have their own week in May, both of them, separate weeks. May seems to be a busy month.
yeah, Mother's Day?
Should we, I mean, I like that thought, Karen, like to call, just separate them, like.
Yeah.
I mean, separate them into a different month, but like have a resolution for each one, let each group come up, be recognized, do pictures. I mean, it seems appropriate,
Yes,
especially if we
yeah.
know they've felt left out, and that's never been an intention of ours to leave them out, so.
And so fire is separate from EMS week?
I believe they're all separate. You know what, I'll.
We can look
send
into
them
that.
to Matt.
I was going to say, we'll
Matt and the chief can look into that?
coordinate about that
All right.
and add that to the agenda if council so wishes.
Aaron, do you want to do all of them? All right, Aaron's going to be our,
There's a lot to read, though. Would you want to separate them and like?
Yeah, I mean, I can take some
Yeah.
if you want me to, yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to
I don't
say
mind
you
doing
shouldn't
it.
do them all, but.
Whether or not you guys
Your
want to
mouth
listen to me.
might get dry.
Yeah.
Make sure you bring your water.
okay, so Aaron, why don't you stick with, well, since the chief is going to give remarks on 3 of them together, rather than having the chief give separate remarks for each, maybe Aaron, you can do all 3, and Kristen, you can do our public works.
Okay.
How's that sound? And Aaron will do all of our protection services. Although we do know Public Works is protection too, especially when it snows. All right, so Kristen will do Public Works. Aaron will do fire, EMS, and police. Then we have a motion to award the bid for the 2025 street paving project. I'll take that. Karen? Then we have the motion to approve the certificate of appropriateness for 119 West Germantown Pike.
I'll take that one.
That's in your district, isn't it?
Just out of curiosity on that, the folks that dissented, there was a 5-3 vote. What is the
Yeah.
dissent? Is that anything for us to just be aware of?
I talked to Charlie about it. maybe there'll, in all likelihood, be somebody who shows up to the meeting next week, that shows up to the HARB meetings, that disagreed with that decision. But the way I understood it, I think was the same as the email that we got today from Mr. Rowe, where this person came to HARB and applied to do this enclosed porch. The HARB looked at it, made some recommendations. The homeowner made the changes that they recommended, came back to HARB, and HARB voted to approve with some people that didn't vote to approve it. I wasn't there at the meeting. Charlie said that, because he had made the changes, the people, that was basically the reason why they approved it. But the woman that shows up to the HARB meetings, that might show up next week, she pointed out that in the guidelines that HARB is supposed to follow, one of the things that's said is that enclosed porches are not recommended, and that's what this is. So that might be why there were 3 people that dissented that didn't like
It's
it.
not recommended for historical property of that type?
Right.
It's the aesthetic look of it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's really what HARB is preserving, is the aesthetic look of, the historic look.
Right, but to be fair, this property is like right on that curve of Germantown, and, I can get why they want an enclosed porch. So it's a tough.
And they are going to try to maintain the look of a porch by putting half columns,
Right.
with the note that possibly those original columns may not even be
Maybe it might
salvageable.
be,
They may have to get something
It might be rotted through.
reproduced. Is that what they plan to do, is to, if the original ones are too rotted, to cut in half, do they plan to get some reproduction?
That would be. I think the design is what was approved by HARB, so
Okay.
I assume that they'd have to just reproduce the columns to make sure it work.
Yeah, those buildings date from a time when we didn't have those horseless carriages. And so being right up against the street was a lot different than it is now, when people have to wait through 3 lights to get through the intersection.
To be clear, the owner, when they purchased the house, they would have known that they had to deal with all of this HARB stuff, correct?
Presumably.
Yeah.
But knowing that you're in a historic property or in a nature that is covered by that, depends how much digging they did.
Yeah.
It's a family that lives there?
I actually don't know. I don't know who the owner is.
But it's residential, not commercial.
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. So Aaron will take that one. All right, now the fun one. Motion to approve the serving of alcoholic beverages for the summer concert series. Not the movie cartoons, but the summer concert series. Did you want to say anything about that, Phil?
Sure. It'll only be for like you said, only for the 3 concerts. It will not be for National Night Out. It will not be for the movies. We're going to set up the Divot. The insurance company has pretty specific guidelines, so we'll follow those to a T. We'll set up a perimeter with lawn signs. People need to keep their alcohol, their beer or seltzer in the area of the band shell. It'll stop selling a half hour before the end of the concert. And Matt found us a vendor who's a resident, so we have a pretty good deal. We'll get 10% of the sales. And we were trying to enhance the concert series anyway with the bands through the budget. So this is another step towards to make it a nice night out, so.
We just recommend doing it as a motion because it's something that's contrary to the way that we handle our ordinances.
Right, yeah, so it is going to be a motion to approve.
Yeah. Yes.
Has that been?
We're reviewing
wording
the
has
contract
been-
and it'll be ready, but also to approve that we're going to be having sales at the park, which typically we don't allow under our ordinance.
Right, we did it for one township day, but here they're not going to be sealed off.
They're not.
They're going to be able to go and listen to the band with their families.
Right. That's a difference.
With their wine spritzer or whatever, right?
The Plymouth Township Day, we kept them in the middle, we don't really have that luxury at the concert because you're not going to sit in a beer garden and listen away from your family. The David recommended a contract, which the solicitor will do, and then recommended the signs, setting up a perimeter. We talked about caution tape, that seemed like a little much. But we'll do the signs, we have a good system for lawn signs, and they need to stay there. And if they don't, and it's a problem, we won't do this again. The other thing to keep in mind is the police are always there. The CPU comes to all those events. So if there's any nonsense, it'll be dealt with then. But it's not where you're going to get a beer and wander off to one or the other, because there's a busy place. Sand volleyball, the playground, there's baseball, and walking. That's not the point. It's for you to have your alcohol while you're watching the concert. So from checking with 2 other townships that do it, people have been pretty good about it. So I'm not too worried about it. But if they can't handle that part of it, we won't be able to do it. And I'll tell them that if they do. So.
How do you feel about it, Chief?
Yeah, Matt and I had discussed it, and the other townships do similar things without a problem. I don't anticipate a problem. And we do have a community policing officer there just to take part in the event, so I would imagine that serve as a bit of a deterrent, so.
I wouldn't cross her.
No, she's tough.
And then, Phil, we had also talked about just making sure people know this is not open to, now, next time, bring your own.
Right.
So there'll be some signage, just so that no one's confused about, the next time, you don't walk in with your own.
Insurance company's very specific that bring your own is never appropriate. So we have to communicate that.
And you can't monitor.
Right, yeah. It's not recommended for any township.
You can't monitor the visible intoxication rate.
Yeah, so we can put that on the signs too.
Thank you.
You're not coming back the next week with your own cooler. thinking, So,
Yeah, and even if people just unintentionally assume
Sure.
it's allowed, this is okay, just to get in front of that, so that.
we can put that on the publicity, for sure.
Excellent.
No BYO.
Right.
Okay, who wants to take that fun motion?
I can take it. I can take it.
Okay, Kristen wants
Do
it?
don't you think we should mention the details, like this is
Oh, yes.
only at GPCC and all of that?
That's what the motion will be.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yes.
No BYO,
You
no,
know.
no
Be
wandering
very
away
specific.
from the band
Yes.
shell.
Between times, on these dates, at this location.
Yes,
Yes.
only.
And not the entire
Yep.
area, but just the marked band shell area.
Yes.
Obviously, you can sit and listen on the blanket with your family, but, okay, yeah, so you'll fill in, I mean, the details will be in there. You can field any questions, Kristen, that
Got it.
people may have. Okay, and then, next we will have our motion to adopt the watershed restoration and protection program. And that's that, okay.
I just had one quick question on that. Is there any potential impact to any resident property that we should even think about, like what's the communication strategy, letting people know that this work is taking place? Like, it could be noisy, it could, something could happen on your property. Is there any of that we should
Yeah.
consider?
Since this is a really, really large area, it would affect quite a few people.
Yeah, not just
This-
Cardinal View.
Right.
The
So
other
this
side.
is not to, how shall I say it? We have not committed dollars yet, real dollars, to construct this project. This is all in the conceptual phase at this point. We don't even have plans together yet. So realistically, work on this project really wouldn't kick off until 2027. This is to tee us up for some grant funding, a significant chunk of it, and we're expecting the total project to be probably $500,000. Because of that large number, we're looking at phasing the project, and this should, in coordination with our MS4 consultant, this should pretty much cover what we could design as a phase one approach. So even before we get to that point, yes, we would have to do some outreach for all of the residents who are in that immediate area.
And maybe we just put on our list of things to do, like a neighborhood conversation, the way we did in Timber Fair when there was questions. Like, we didn't need the whole town, I mean, anyone from the township was welcome to come to the Timber Fair conversation. But the people in that neighborhood had questions, concerns, and ideas. Maybe we do the same thing, like a neighborhood discussion for anybody in sort of like the impacted zone. Maybe we just put it on that list of, yes, let's not forget about.
That's
getting in
Aaron's
front of us.
district, so maybe you can take the lead on that.
It's good. It's a bit premature yet. We don't have those details yet, so once those details are, starting to come together, we're looking at probably budgeting general fund dollars in 2026 to do the plan. That's probably where we will know more about what's going to actually happen, and mid-2026 would be a good point to estimate, start reaching out to the residents.
Okay, so in 2026, Aaron.
Yeah, we'll still put on the list. It should be-
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, exactly. Sit there so we don't forget about it.
Right, right.
We just don't have any details yet.
Yeah, and we don't want to be communicating to neighbors no information and have them be worried about things that aren't even involved.
Yep, agreed. Before we move on from action items, who would like to take the Harmonville bid motions?
I can do those.
All right, thank you.
Will that come, well, I guess we'll see it on the agenda when that will come.
Yeah.
Probably after the watershed resolution.
Probably. I'm gonna probably end up moving the agenda around a little bit now that we're doing the emergency responders resolutions. I'll probably do all of those as a group. And so some of these resolution numbers will probably change at the end.
And then again, hopefully, we'll be able to do everything about Harmonville and not have to table anything. Right, Alec?
I hope so. I hope that we'll be satisfied.
It's so
Knocking a lot of
hard
wood
to.
over here.
It's just so hard to satisfy a lawyer, isn't it?
It's the concern of being sued.
That's a big concern.
I believe the numbers that we were using in that bid were also the second lowest, just to give us a little wiggle room. We always have to go the lowest, but for our budgeting purposes, we went second lowest. So there is actually some room that we might get a little better in the final cost.
Does the lowest bidder get it, or is anyone knocked out?
Lowest
for
response,
anything?
yeah.
Oh, I like that word, yeah. Okay, got it.
Lowest qualified or lowest responsible bidder.
Okay.
And that's where our solicitor comes into play too.
If they filled out the paperwork incorrectly, then there's certain defects that are waivable, others that are automatically disqualified.
And if any of you want to nerd out on contract review, I'd be happy to loop you in on the constant email that I send to Sarah at Alex's office for contract review. It's a riveting good time.
Yeah, that's a first-year class, okay?
Oh, Sarah's an experienced attorney that handled the needy details of
Oh,
these,
she's-
and her and Mike love doing these issues. And
Oh, Mike likes that too?
he loves it.
Oh,
The
great.
bidding issues is his wheelhouse.
Hats off to Sarah for helping us through the pool pump room project, and she'll be helping us with this one as well.
What's Sarah's last name again?
Steers,
Good. It's a good person to have.
he's great.
Okay, so we've added the Harmonville bid. Hopefully, we can have all of the motions in order for that in time, but if not,
We still have some time. We can still, if things go sideways this week, we still have time in June for council to consider award.
but it has to be at the regular meeting, it can't be at the workshop.
It's a public meeting.
It's a public meeting, so
advertisement, but it would-
technically you could take action at a workshop. Just historically, you haven't done that here.
Right. Yeah, not the biggies like that. Okay. All right, then we have, for the information items, will be our police department's town hall on May 17th at the GPCC. Chief, will you want to say something about what that all is going to entail? Because I think you're probably the best person
At the public
at
meeting?
the public meeting to
Absolutely.
talk about the upcoming town. It's going to be hosted by the police department. Council will be there, but,
Well, I would suggest, if council would like to give the opening remarks and to get us going.
right.
I also invited the fire companies and the medics. They were appreciative. They'll be there. So I'm going to make sure they have tables to, even if they just want to recruit or just, show people, it's going to be that double room. So yeah, I will say something, but if you weren't aware, you're invited and you can give the opening remarks.
Thank you. Okay, it's going to be a great town hall. So the chief and can give additional information about that. Anyone in particular want to just announce that it's coming up, and then the chief can fill in some details? Sure. Lynn, okay. Lynn and the chief. Our citizen board vacancy announcements.
I can do it.
Okay, Kristen. Zoning hearings. Nick wants to do zoning hearings. Okay, our Parks and Recreation upcoming event.
I can do those.
Okay, Aaron. And that will include Plymouth Township Day.
7 new activities at Plymouth Township Day this year, so
Did I see one was a petting zoo?
I don't think that's new, that's been there before.
Oh, okay. I was very excited about it.
It's definitely a petting zoo.
It's like baby goats and
Yes,
lambs.
that's what I was excited
It was
about.
at the last one, too. I think that was the first one I've seen.
Yeah, that was last year, that was new last year. It's coming back.
Coming back.
Yep.
What are the new things this year? Do you know?
Oh, yeah. Hold on here. We have family yoga to kick things off as new. We have another food truck, 2 new food trucks. We have Grandpa Bubbles, which comes with rave reviews. A ninja obstacle.
Yeah, what's Grandpa
Well,
Bubbles?
he has this way he makes bubbles into shapes. And it's like a balloon art, but with bubbles. Very hard to book him, he's pretty popular. Ninja obstacle course, caricatures, family yoga, which I mentioned, and children's gold mining. So like water and they'll get things out of there.
They love that.
Yeah.
So keep them busy.
Where's gold, right? It's real. Plastic. Okay, so, anything else from Parks and Recreation, Phil?
Now we got a bunch of other new events too, so a lot going on, outside stuff. So look it up. We always need sponsors for these too, so.
Okay, yeah, it was a great event for the anniversary of the GPCC. That was very well attended.
It was, so we're having a good year.
My family enjoyed it, for sure,
Glad to hear that.
especially the pool.
Yeah. Glad to hear it.
Okay, the Cunnytown update?
I think it was May last, yeah.
Because I think I follow you.
Yeah, I think so too.
Unless,
I'm last.
Aaron, you're looking like you want it.
No.
So Lynn's got Cunnytown. All right, and, so, anybody else have anything? Jim, what's going on with code and zoning?
Well, code will be open on the 12th. It's just online now. As of May 1, our portals are open.
Oh, congratulations.
Apply for permits, or you can register as a contractor.
Ooh, that deserves an announcement. Who's doing the, we just did it.
On the homepage.
Yeah,
there's a
so,
new button that says
wow.
permits and registration portal.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And it's being used, slow right now, but making our jobs so much simpler. We don't have all that data entry we got to do. It's just look at it, make sure it's right, make quick changes.
Maybe we should do an announcement about that under our information items. Going to be open during the the closure on that day.
It's open 24/7.
It's open 24/7, so I think we should add that as an information item.
And basically what happens, you apply, it sends an email. We have a email building at PlymouthTownship.org. It goes into there. Several people in my department has access to that. They can go in and start processing. They can email back what they need, and once, if everything's good, they figure out the fees, push a button, sends an email back, tell them they can go back online and pay the fees.
Very nice. So this is all zoning applications now?
A lot. It's by the end of this year, even our rental properties will be able to do this, which is saving us a lot of time because we have like 400 some odd rental properties. All that paperwork is paperless. It'll go out to them via email. They can go online, fill it out, pay for it.
Fantastic. Awesome. That's awesome, Jim. Thank you.
So this would also be for permits for like homeowner projects and stuff like that?
Anything.
Do you think
You can still come in, but you can access it online.
we could do like an annual announcement or announcements that, like, you know, we do the snow announcements in the winter.
right.
We do an annual announcement during like the early spring and summer for just this because, you know, folks.
Yeah, so that people
Say it
keep
once
getting
more.
reminded.
Yeah. You know, unless they make it to our next meeting, you know, they might miss it. And I
Right.
know that that's gonna come up for
Good
anybody.
idea, Aaron.
Payments being processed online too?
Yep.
Awesome.
You can do credit card, you can do an e-check, and I think you may be able to do PayPal. It's through, who we use, Municipay?
Municipay.
It's through the same people he uses. It just redirects them to do it.
You seem pretty happy about this. This is a good thing.
2 years.
Oh, congratulations.
I've been working on this.
That's
All
awesome.
right.
And also,
Thanks, Len, for.
Matt doesn't even know it yet, but I had a meeting with Laserfish today. By the end of the month, we'll be online in the cloud.
Great. That's awesome. Good stuff. Thanks, Jim.
All right, maybe someone can get that announcement typed up, and who's the most excited? It sounds like Aaron, so.
Oh, yeah, I'm the most excited.
Well, you've taken a lot. Okay, so I'll do that
I mean, I
announcement.
can do it.
You want to do it?
I think it's a great idea too, like monthly, just say it, like you can't.
Yeah.
That's a great idea, Aaron. Since we're not doing snow announcements. Okay. That's awesome news. Okay, any news from you, Kellen?
No news. Right now, our auditor is just in right now, but other than that, it's kind of the quiet time for finance until the budget season starts in the end of the summer. So, man, not a whole lot of news coming out of the finance department.
That's great. Len, got great news coming out of IT?
All's good.
All good. All systems running.
All systems running.
Okay, thanks. You have anything, Rebecca?
I don't, but Brandon is going to put a notice on social media and the website about Monday. I'm just waiting for some additional information on phone calls.
Okay.
So that blast will go out. And it is on my calendar for tomorrow to put the signs on the board. So.
All right, great. And then, good, we need signs on the door. And then I guess maybe some sort of answering machine if they do happen to call.
I'm working with Len on that.
Will be answered. Say that we just close these hours and be reopened.
Tomorrow.
Okay. Chris?
We are good. We were working on delivering virtual mulch.
Oh, that's great. I hate having to shovel that. Awesome. I can order all this mulch and it'll just be there around every bush and tree.
Everything's good.
Great.
Welcome back. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good to be back.
Yeah, it was great to see you at the traffic calming town hall too. Just shocked to see you there. That's great. Engineering have anything for us tonight?
There's two projects that are winding down. They're going to be completed soon. Knights Court, finally, that's a very, very old project now. He sold the last house, David Erb, and he put the improvements in front of that house, and all he has to do now is put the wearing course on the road, and that job will be finished.
How old is that project?
It's got to be 10,
Say, I don't even remember that one.
10, 12 years old. Yeah. It was a stop and start through the whole process. And the other one is 22 Butler Pike in your neighborhood.
Yeah, they sold that last house yet?
Not yet. There's one house for sale still, but they are going to,
Is that the house that's all black?
it's all the way in the back.
Oh.
It's when you go in straight and you go to the left and all the way in the back. That's the last one that's not sold. And again, they need to convert the basins from temporary basins to permanent basins, and then put the wearing course on the road, and then they're done. So
That one went fast.
that one went fast.
Unlike the
Relatively
10-year-old.
Relatively fast. Yes, not like Knights Court, no.
I feel like that was less than 2 years ago. We were doing the text or map amendment for them. That was quick.
Okay. Rick, buildings and grounds.
Yeah, just, all's good, just, springtime, trying to get everything taken care of, so we're busy.
Growing fast.
Very busy,
A lot of rain, growing fast. So you taking advantage of the virtual mulch program?
Our mulch is already done, so I didn't get to take advantage of it this year, but next year for sure.
Okay. Chief, thank you so much for the town hall. It was really, really well received and very informative, and looking forward to the your town hall at the GPCC.
Yeah. No, that's-
Anything else for us?
I do have a few things. One, I forgot to add something to the agenda. I was reminded that our Citizens Academy, we make sure that they graduate on a Monday so that council can acknowledge them. We have certificates that we make up. So if you don't mind, I'd like to just recognize them, and then maybe we could give you the certificates where you could present them.
Okay.
But they look forward to it. This is the culmination of a 2-month program that they've gone through.
Okay, so maybe we should put that early in the action items so that they can get their certificates and not.
Is it an action typically?
I don't believe in the past it's been, but I'm not positive.
Recognition, but, yeah, I don't know.
Okay, I'll see what was done, and I'll add it accordingly.
Either under action or information or somewhere. I guess I can do that one. Citizens Academy. Certificates. And Chief, you'll say something about the program and what they've been through.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Thank you.
Also, after the traffic calming town hall, there were a lot of people that brought up things. I know there were a lot of constituents that brought up questions to their council people. They got forwarded to Matt and myself. So I thought that this might be an appropriate place to answer some of the questions. I have some already, and if any of you had gotten any kind of concerns or questions. But these in particular came out of the Plymouth Park neighborhood. One of them was asking what's been done or what will be done for the intersection of Sierra Road and Germantown Pike, if you're familiar with that, where the gas station is.
Yeah.
They were looking for some kind of help so they could get out of that community and take a left. My information that I gave back was, I just wanted to remind everybody that Germantown Pike goes from 5 lanes at Germantown and Plymouth and whittles its way down to 1 lane at Sierra and Germantown, and that's significant. It's a lot of movement there, and I think probably the last thing that we want to do is mess with that movement going that way, because it's already strained. I also looked into our accidents over the last 3 years. There was 1 accident there in 3 years, and that was from somebody making a left turn off Sierra Road onto Germantown, which is what they're requesting to do. I don't know that we really want to do anything. If we did anything, it'd probably be an unpopular thing. My recommendation would be to say no left turns off the Sierra Road onto Germantown, because you have to go through 3 lanes of traffic to get over, and then you're just holding everybody up. But I guess I would say leave it be. It would be my recommendation, because it's tight, it's tough.
Because they come out, and sometimes they're blocking, like they want to go straight, but they're blocking the left turn lane, so people coming down and want to turn left on Chemical lose that left turn arrow because those people are stuck halfway across.
I mean, even if I go out, I don't even try and get out that way. It's just not worth, it's not worth the aggravation. I'll go through the neighborhood and I'll go up and out onto Butler Pike. But again, give me your feedback. I'm just giving you my advice based on what I've seen there. One of the other concerns was the Luke Oil parking lot, that people use it as a cut-through. So there were a couple things about that. One is that that's private property, so that's really up to the property owner. So a couple things would have to happen if they wanted that. They would have to post signs, number one, to let people know that you can't cut through. And then number two, they would have to contact the township and say, we are asking for the police to enforce these, because again, it's private property. Even if they put up signs and they don't ask us to enforce it, we have no right to enforce it. I would be surprised if they do that, because they're basically telling people where they're trying to make money, don't come onto our property. Even I would encourage anybody to come onto the property, just for the sake that they might decide, oh, I'm cutting through, I could use some gas, or I want to get a drink. But otherwise, there's really nothing you can do there. We do sit there often when we do aggressive patrol, but since we can't do anything about that lot, we sit there because we're looking for people coming down Germantown past Chemical, and instead of going right, they cut over and they cut somebody off and they merge into the lane. And that's where we do the aggressive driving from. So we do have a presence there, probably more so than we would normally. But again, that'd be my recommendation there, that we don't have the authority. And if I would find it hard pressed for them to give us the authority, and I can't say that we'd spend too much time there. With all the things we have to do, I don't see us looking for somebody cutting through. And I can tell you, I would bet a lot of those people might just be neighbors that are trying to avoid all that traffic just to get into their neighborhood.
Turn right on Sierra, they take a shortcut through.
And I think the last question from that group had to do with cameras on the buses. And that's something that we've researched before. I'm happy to discuss it again. I did give a recommendation to council that I wasn't crazy about the idea after having gone through the process. The solicitor's office did a lot of work on this. They went back and forth with the company, and they did iron out an MOU, which we have, that they were satisfied with, that protected the township. There were certain laws at the time that made the police officers the defendant, because it's a civil action, and put them at risk. But that law has since been changed, so that's not an issue anymore. I guess my biggest issue was I didn't feel comfortable as a public service entity working for a private company, helping them make money. And ironically, at this meeting, I had a couple people come up to me, one from Jolly Road, saying they got a ticket, $300 for that. They said, I don't even know that I did anything wrong, but I didn't want to have to fight it. I didn't want to have to go to court, so they paid it. And they were asking us if we were involved. And I told them no. What we did do, which I presented to council, was we started our own Cops at Stops. I don't even remember what it's called. But we do that twice a month, and I was trying to do that in lieu of this other program. And the school district, they weren't interested or disinterested. They said if we were interested, that they would do it. But when they said we, they meant the colonial police departments. And White Marsh and Conshohocken were just as uninterested as I was. So I don't even know if the school district would invest in that unless all three departments were enforcing it. So I know it's a good thing, but it gives me a bad feeling. I'm making money for somebody else, and that brings all kinds of questions up, like who are you working for? The citizens that are getting these tickets, or this company that's making money? And that's an awful hefty fine with a lot of a lot of empty spots there. You know, they have pictures of the cars. They don't have picture of their own equipment. Was your flashers working? There's no cameras pointing at them. Was your stop sign working that came out to the side? There's no cameras of that. Just the car that's going past. So it leaves a lot of unanswered questions. Again, that was my recommendation, was not to do it at the time. But just so you know where that was at, or if you all feel differently. Those were the only concerns that were brought to my attention. If anybody else had any or wanted to discuss those.
I had some people wanting cameras. Red light cameras, yeah. Now, I know we can't do radar. That's a state, only state police can do that. That's a legislative change that would need to be made. How do you feel about?
I don't think that there is any red light or speed cameras. The speed cameras are used on the turnpike. The red light cameras are the ones that we discussed at the meeting that Philadelphia has just been able to get, and they have some of the worst intersections in the country. That Roosevelt Boulevard had pedestrians being killed. It's a big deal.
Pedestrians,
yeah,
including children.
Yeah, bad access.
Skating rink to get back home.
And it's one of the major cities in the United States. We don't have anywhere near the congestion or the volume that they have to justify it, and it was still a fight. So it really is not an option. Nobody,
For this township.
even Josh, is not going to give it to us, according to that guy.
Was that also the one where we had to have a certain population or something like that?
There was a whole bunch, and we didn't meet any of that. You know, maybe Pittsburgh, and I'm not even so sure of them being the second largest city, but I don't even think they have what's needed for that. That was really for a New York City, a Las Vegas, a Philadelphia, a Los Angeles, that type of thing, certain intersections. But, so I don't think those are options for us.
I agree. Yeah.
And if you didn't have any other questions about that, the only other thing that I wanted to bring to council's attention was with one of my lieutenants leaving, who's my number 2. He'll be retiring because he's in the drop program. He will not stay here later than the middle of December. We're taking some vacation time. He'll go into the new year and take out that vacation time, so he'll still be collecting a paycheck, but he won't physically be here. Because it's such an important position, when we tested, we did sergeant and lieutenant, and my reasoning to council was that I wanted a chance to see who came out number 1. We did promote a sergeant to fill a vacancy, but I wanted to get a jump and train the next sergeant and train that next lieutenant to start giving them assignments, to start getting into schools. So with him leaving, I would like about a month of transition at least. I was hoping in November to be able to promote that sergeant and that next lieutenant to take his spot. And in conjunction with that, to replace him as a member of the police department, our eligibility list for patrol officers expires days after the November council meeting. I would like to take advantage of that because the next candidate was a very good candidate, very good person. He actually went to Reading Police Department. He'll be done their police academy. He has no contractual obligations to pay anything back. He's from the Philadelphia area, very happy to come here. We've even invited him here to show him around. And on top of everything else, he's a diverse candidate, and I'd love to jump on an opportunity when you have a good candidate and they bring diversity with them. So I would like to do all those things, if possible, in November, because the timing is just right to get this last person and just right to get these people promoted on board for just a little bit of a transition.
So if we hire in November, what's the overlap time of salaries from the lieutenant who's leaving us in drop? He's leaving in February?
He's done in February. He won't be collecting salary, but because he'll be taking his vacation pay and holiday pay, that's what he'll be collecting. He could take it in a lump sum, but some guys like to just take it so it spreads out. But he won't be getting a salary. He will be out on vacation time.
After December, mid-December?
After mid-December, yeah. So there will be an overlap of payment, not salary, but payment. But again, I purposely had done everything, I timed it in such a way that we could just kind of, and this is an important, I'm already doing transitional things right now because they work with us. But I mean, physically, he's going to have to sit down with the next person I designate my number 2 and go over some things face to face, full time, and just say, look, this is what it entails. And I think a month is cutting it close, but realistically, that's about as much time as I can expect. So I'm not really asking anything of you. I'm just kind of throwing it out there to see what you think. I didn't want to hit you with it in September, October. I figured let me give you time to think about it. Because if you do agree, I have to get started in September because there's physicals and psychologicals for the new person, uniforms. And he would have to give notice. It's something I would have to get some kind of commitment from you in the fall.
So what force is he with now? Is he with Reading or with Philly?
He's with Reading. He's from Philadelphia. But he went to Reading. He's in their police academy now. He'll be out of the police academy at the end of the summer. And he'll have about 2 months on the street. But he's another person that loved what we have here. He absolutely wants to come here. We invited him here a couple weeks ago. And we showed him around and we talked to him. And we really like this guy. One of the things that everybody who interviewed him came out with was that he was a really good person. And that might not sound like much, but it means a lot to me when we're looking for people because you can't teach somebody to be a good person. And I think that's one of the things that we like about what we have here. Good-hearted people, compassionate. We can train the other stuff. I don't need you to be,
So he sort of fits the culture that's already...
He does. He absolutely does. And that's what we look for. We look for people that fit the culture, could be molded, appreciate what we have here. And it's one of the reasons that he's willing to leave a place that he just got to, just like our last few people have left places that they were either in the academy or were only there a few months. They wanted to specifically be here. And that's...
Are we going to be known as poachers?
I can live with that. I'll take the hit. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there so that it's, you have time to digest it.
So there's really no budget impact. I mean, we're replacing 3 positions, right?
We're replacing, we're moving 2 people up because one person's leaving and we're replacing him. There will be a slight overlap, but it's like I said, it's vacation and holiday pay that he would get either way.
And I'm
It
guessing
seems
that-
budget neutral then.
Yeah, and
Am
even
I
if
wrong?
there's a slight overlap, I'm guessing that's negated by the fact that a new officer is starting at a lower salary than the officer that stepped up, so budget neutral, I would think.
And the officer that he's replacing isn't going to be here, except a little bit from November to December.
And realistically, the way we do things, I mean, the cost that we have to do to hire, we don't charge for the test anymore. We put thousands of dollars in recruitment to go out there. It'll be in the 5 figures to test. I wouldn't want to do that for one person. Come budget time, I'm going to broach a subject again about increasing the department. And then, of course, if that's the case, we would do that because the list would be up. But why do that for one person when you have a good person that you want already there? The costs for giving a test are significant, and it's at least a 6-month process just to do that. And that's if they don't have to go to the police academy, which is then is a cost that we have to incur. So I'm just saying that there are, and then we don't know who we're going to get. I mean, I'm sure we'll get good people, but I can't tell you I'll get diverse candidates at the top. We've been very fortunate, but why play games with that? That's just my take on it.
I think it should be good, now that I'm thinking about it. Bringing in an officer at the lower level, even if there's like a month overlap.
Right.
We'll still assume that, because even though they are taking vacation, we will be paying for benefits during that time as well.
Well,
So there's the cost.
They're owed that vacation money.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And that probationary officer is replacing our most
That's
senior
where the savings
lieutenant.
would be,
So
right.
it's a huge gap.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you think, Kellen?
It's minimal at most.
think that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. So-
Thank you.
But just to make sure we didn't lose track of something, so are we doing at the business meeting then announcements for the chief to say, people ask these questions at our town hall, here are the answers? I think that's where we started.
I wasn't sure if you wanted me to do that or not. This was for your, to get back to your constituents, but I'm happy to do whatever you need.
I don't think that's necessary. Those were questions that I had relayed to him from constituents of mine. I was just going to reach out to them and provide them with those answers.
Find out what they think about a no left turn.
I do feel like it might be helpful to mention the automatic ticket with the bus situation. So many people have asked that question that weren't at the town hall. And I mean, everybody thinks it's like super, like it's not that complicated and don't understand that there's more to it than just giving someone a ticket.
You know what I could do? I could incorporate that into my town hall coming up.
That would be good.
Oh, that's great. Great idea.
That would feel more.
Yeah.
I'll just have to put somebody in the audience and say, ask me that question.
Sorry, Kristen.
I know, I'm sure I can find someone.
Take the most personable plant and make sure she's there.
You've got a mustache.
In fact, one of the people that I'm going to invite there anyway is Gail Plant, who's on the school board. So she might even weigh in on some of that, but
That's great. That's a great suggestion, that's
Right,
good.
Gail
Good
Plant
place
can
for it, at least we're
plant the
closing the loop
question.
where people have asked questions rather than us trying to sometimes reach out to multiple people with the same answer.
And Aaron, you can still, of course, reach out to your people about the Sierra Road intersection. Okay, and going back to the paving award, I didn't think to ask you, Chris. We've used Glasgow, the low bidder, before, right?
Glasgow is 15 of the 18 years they've been low. I think it's 13 in a row. 8 in a row. They've been
Okay.
at it. They do outstanding work.
And they do outstanding work, so, thank you. I mean, I recognize their name and I know that, but I just wanted to
I checked today.
You're still very comfortable.
15 of the 18 years, they were the low bid.
All right, does anybody else have anything for today? Matt, do you?
That was a lot that I provided to you all tonight. I don't have anything else.
Okay, didn't mean to skip over you, Mike, sitting in the back of the church now.
I'm good. Actually, Jim covered it. All the permit stuff that we have was rolled up into that. We're doing real nice, and this time of year, spring and fall, is when we're getting the burn permits. People asking for them.
Oh, fire pits and stuff in there?
Yep. That's got a few coming in, but that's expected. Then we'll see a lull in summer, and then as soon as the cool weather comes back in the fall, we'll get them picking up again.
They want to burn their leaves. I see them burning their leaves.
Yeah, that they're not supposed to be doing.
I know that, but, you know, I'm not ratting on not ratting on anybody. All right, nothing else? Meeting adjourned? Thank you guys, all of you.